Hey, so it's me again, and I'm going to conclude the Enneagram evaluation now. I mean, maybe I will want to read Type 7 eventually and like see what, because now that I had to find that like I'm probably in Type 8 and not, an 8/5. Then, the wing would be 7 for sure. Because, it was either a 5 with a wing and 4 or an 8 with a wing and 7. And I think that after this last reading that I did, it's kind of like fair for me to conclude that Type 5 is something that I don't know if this is how types are supposed to work. When I was younger, it was very true for me that was kind of like how my brain works. And I think that when I was younger, I was a little bit more of a 5 than an 8. And like right now, I'm more of an 8 than a 5. I'm not rejecting the 5 because I see a lot of those things that they make sense for me. They really represent the way I think, the way I perceive the world. But I think that I'm finally making a choice. So it is 8 for me and 7. And I read all the other types, and it was pretty interesting because, as I mentioned, I wasn't really, because the first time I ever did this, I read every single type that there was. I read the whole file, and then like the compatibility, the misidentification of like every single one of them, so I could have like a better, more rounded understanding of what the types are, and to just see what I could get for some of them. Because ultimately, the goal for these personality types is self-improvement, right? It's for you to just learn more about yourself, and then for you to have a better life, for you to just have a better better understanding of yourself, and as a consequence, you can have better understanding of the world and how you interact with it. So I read all of them, and maybe I'm gonna do this time around. I'm tempted to do 7 because now that I've decided that it's an 8 and that's going to be wing 7, I want to read more. And usually these types, they're like one by by each other side. Like I think it happens. It can happen kind of like often. If we have like a type 7 with wing and 8, type 8 with wing and 7, for you to see which one you are, because there's like all the similarities. Yeah, so I'm kind of like, I've decided that like my type 5 is still going to be the second closest, like type 8, type 5, and then type 7. And yeah, I think that's that. I'm feeling interested. It's an interesting feeling that I'm feeling about making a choice, because well, for so long I didn't really have. I was kind of like, it's both, it's either, and right now I'm like, no, it is one or the other. And it's also interesting because, as I said, I didn't want to look like I'm just checking, things in the box when it comes to the other personality type, but it really did feel like, like one of the things that helped me come to this conclusion is the fact that some of the issues that I used to have with that personality type 5, I no longer have them. I've been able to improve on them and to work on them. Of course, like those issues, they're still, like even if they're not, both at first place, because the way I was looking at the situation is like, okay, so both type 5 and type 8 are in first place, and in third place you have type 7. And now I'm looking like type 8, wait, which one is the second? Wait, you get it, like type 8, type 5, type 7. So type 5, there's still like a lot of it that, like it makes sense for me, but it's still like not as much as type 8. This is the general vibe that I had. As I was reading, I was like, yeah, this one, it reads a lot about me, but it reads a little bit more than type 5. Although, as I said, it's kind of like there. I don't want to diminish, like the impact, because I like, actually being able to look at various personality types and, like seeing like where exactly I find myself and seeing like where I can improve or not. Because ultimately, as I said, this is about self-knowledge. So, like by knowing, where I am, where I'm not, it kind of like, it helps me, just in terms of like seeing like what I have to improve and what, I have already been able to improve. Like that was exciting, like reading type 5 and seeing like all the personality types and all the hints, not the hints, like the tips for improvement in personality type 5, and just realizing like I've been able to apply all of this, and that those issues, they're no longer the big issues they used to be. They're kind of like minor issues, and that the ones from type 8, like they were a little closer. I'm already doing a pretty good job, I think, of like managing expectations, and of like dealing with the possible trouble spots and issues that this personality type it has. So there's a lot of things that I'm already doing better, but I think there's a little bit more from that one that I have to work on. I have to kind of I have to improve on those regards. But yeah, so this is kind of like the takeaway from this Enneagram videos that I've been making, is that I am a type 8 with a wing in 7, and now I'm excited to actually read type 7. I think that it makes sense because type 5, they have all this introversion, introspective thing going on, and I am a more introspective person, but like type 4 is also like more introspective, right? The one that would say that they're in touch with their feelings and all that. So I'm more, I retract into myself more. This is something that has always happened, but I think it doesn't happen as so much, these days. It does. I do have my moments where I need to be by myself, so like I still need those moments. But I think they're not happening in like in a healthy level. They're not. Like I have my moments where I retract, but I come out again, and it's not unhealthy. Same thing with like the whole not living in the present, because they're living in their own heads. It's something that used to be much bigger for me when I was younger. I couldn't, I was always like living, in my plans and in my discoveries and in my not accomplishments, but like all the things I was, realizing in my own head, and I have, really been able to change my approach to things and to be more present, to be physically present, and to be mentally present, for things, which is something that used to be more of a struggle. As I said, there's still like some moments where that is kind of like an issue, but it is important to take into account that I am, like I'm grounded, exactly. That's pretty much that. Like I am grounded, I'm centered, and I am stable. And like at this point in time, as I'm reading, the types I read, and type 8 is the one that ranked the most true for me, the truest, for me. And that is kind of like the case. I still, because when it comes to type 5, as I said, and interacting with people, like I'm still like not the best at interacting with people. It's not really something that I necessarily love all the time. Like I have my issues, but I have learned to appreciate, and to put time into, the relationships I have, and I have gotten like the results. I have sold the results of like the efforts that I've been making, and it was pretty interesting because it kind of like it changed my day. And this was one of those things that I didn't really want to change about myself. I think that I was like I was afraid that if I changed it, like I would kind of like lose myself in the process, because like if I'm interacting with people, I'm having friends, like then who the fuck am I, and like that's not the case anymore. I'm still myself, I'm still me, and I have my relationships, I have interactions, like at my own pace, as I mentioned, it is happening the way that I can kind of process, which is kind of like how everything works. Even very sociable people, like they inevitably they need a little time for themselves, so it's all about finding balance, finding people who like match you, because sometimes like you have emotional needs, and the way that those needs are to be met is not going to be the same for everybody. So for example, I need a little distance, I need some time in between interactions, I need like a certain I need a certain distance. I think that's the way to put it. So I want my needs to be met, but it's going to be my own pace, basically. So like the whole thing of like not living your body, and not interacting, just getting very, also like the whole being very concentrated and centered. I think I used to put this into the whole hyper focus thing, because there were things that I could really just stay there forever, and like not feel the need to like leave, to move. But right now, I think my attention span is a little worse than it used to be, and I need more distractions. I get bored more easily. I have more I don't know, I guess, yeah, pretty much that. I need more stimuli, and I don't know, but I've been able to find a way of doing things. I still hate to be, if you have nothing to do, to be bored about things, but I know how to cope with those things now. Sometimes I cope better than other times. I have to take that into account, but ultimately it is being coped, and that is kind of that's all you can hope for sometimes. That even if you're just meeting things halfway, halfway is better than nothing. So there's that. So I think I'm gonna wrap this up right now, but this was just for me to just kind of like say some of the things that I was thinking about this process, and that as I said, as I announced already, type A with a wing in 7. So I don't know, it feels weird now that you kind of like push type 5 to the side, but at the same time it feels like, oh, I should have done this already. Because if everybody has one time, why would I have two? I'm not that special. But yeah, so that is kind of like the type. And then like the whole, also I will say type 8 is I guess I think it feels, because there's type of personality types, right? And some of them, like, there are some positives, they're just like, okay, this is good, I want this for me. And then you have the negatives, and then you kind of like, no. And I think for me with type 5, type 8, type 5, and type 7, at least they are the ones that were like at above 9%. I was kind of like okay with some, maybe not fully type 7, but like type 5 and type 5 and type 8, like they were kind of like, even the bad things about them, that was like, okay, I'm kind of embracing this, I like this, I'm positive, I have positive feelings about this being the negative. Not that I want to have shortcomings, but like I'm gonna have shortcomings regardless, so it might as well be these ones. And something that I observed is that the 5 shortcomings, like they don't, the 8 and 5 shortcomings, like they never really bother me. They were just like, yeah, this is me, that's that, I can see how this isn't healthy, but it is what it is. And basically right now I look at the 8th clause and I'm like, I can work with this, like, I mean, I'd rather be like this than be like something else. So have many personality types that for me just be like, yeah, this is not great, I don't love this, I don't love this for me. Because I think that type 8 and type 5, I'm fine with this. Type 7, I'm mostly fine. And I have type 4 that I'm kind of like, eh. Type 3 and 6, I'm just like, no, I can kind of like sing the positive things, but I don't want the negative things. And then you have the other 3 that I'm like, yeah, whatever. So, but yeah, but basically what I wanted to say, the other 4 that I said, no, I said 5. But yeah, but like type 8, I'm still kind of like, I'm okay with this. Type 5, I'm more neutral, although like some of them I'm still like, yep, that is me, haha. There's this type of like identification with the personality of the shortcomings, and I think I'm more neutral on this type 5 shortcomings. I still don't think that they're bad, as far as like the potential shortcomings that you have out there. Still not bad, but I'm like less attached, I guess. So yeah, this is kind of going to be it. Anyways, bye.